Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Behind the Small Business Podcast. My name is Kevin Dandino. I'm glad to be with you here once again today. I have a very awesome guest who's going to share her story about how she got into this new business of hers, and that is Olivia. Olivia, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I am excited to hear about Didi Virtual Solutions. It sounds like this is a newer thing, but lots of experience you've had in the past, and getting to share that story and talk about what it's like really going through the process of being a new business owner right now, because obviously we see a lot of business owners that have been around for a long time, but it's a very unique perspective like you have when somebody's just starting out fresh.
Yeah, so this is actually my second business. My first business was very short-lived because I went out to Colorado to go to grad school to become a registered dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a whole process because you have to a lot of people get dietitians confused with nutritionists and they think you can just get a certification online and be good to go. But it's actually, you have to have a master's and you have to take this national board exam that apparently is just as hard as the bar exam.
Yeah.
Because I've had friends that have had to take it 2 or 3 times and the passing score was 25 and I got 25. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness.
Hey, pass is a pass.
But my goal was to start a business right off the bat, and it was good, but it wasn't, I could just tell I didn't enjoy it right away. And I actually enjoyed the building the business part more. And so that was kind of what took me into doing this business, which is basically I say it's a hybrid virtual assistant and business system strategist. So basically I'll do anything from admin work to marketing to graphic design, to just trying to streamline systems that you're using, because how it kind of all became inspired was between the transitions. I was working for a car dealership and they were very old school. Everything was still write down the name, the address, the car. And I'm like, this is so tedious. I'm going to get carpal tunnel syndrome from this every single day. I mean, you can still get carpal tunnel from your typing, but yeah, I was just nowadays people are doing everything on their phones, or you can send a link ahead of time and get them to do it, and it'll save so much more time than when they're at the counter, because there's only one me, and sometimes everyone just shows up at once and they're waiting in line and they get more annoyed, so that affects reviews. So I'm like, how can we make this better for not just me but also the customer? And that was kind of what made me want to do this, because I also kind of realized I like being my own boss too. So having your own business definitely helps with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's pluses and minuses. Yeah. Yes, but for everyone who stays in it and finds a successful, business that they operate, it kind of falls back to what you were talking about, is that passion, right? And having fun with it. If you're trying to be a business owner and doing something that you don't enjoy, I got to imagine that it's got to be near impossible, if not straight up impossible.
Yeah. I only lasted a year and a half doing the dietitian stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still love the knowledge and the science part of it, because I'm definitely a nerd at heart. I majored, my undergrad was biology, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I finished that up because I was like, oh, there's so many routes. You could be med school, you could go to a laboratory or something like that. And I wrote down a list of everything I like. I was like, I like the creativity, I like challenge, I like being able to feel like I've accomplished something, almost like a puzzle. And I like having the independence, because that was kind of a backtrack to why I went to dietetics in the first place, because I started having this chronic illness that no one had really done a lot of research on. It's called interstitial cystitis, which you probably haven't heard of. Yeah. IC for short.
Gotcha. That I can remember.
Yes. Basically, it's a chronic UTI, but UTIs are caused from infection and actual virus. This was something else that people didn't know. You're just having constant pain in your bladder. And I realized nutrition does play a part in it, but it's also stress. Stress was a major part. And more and more research goes into stress causing chronic and autoimmune illnesses, like fibromyalgia or psoriasis, even tons of different things. And so I wanted to have a job where I could be flexible and not be stressed about I mean, I still am stressed, but it's a lot different when it's like you can manage your own schedule. It's kind of your own fault if you get stressed, sort of.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, you're definitely in control of, how much you take on and all that stuff. But it sounds like from the initial onset of starting Didi Virtual Solution, you're getting some early success there, which has got to be feeling pretty good, right?
yeah,
How are you managing that? Like, I think a lot of business owners expect that when they start a business, it's going to be a real slow going the
yeah.
first however many months or years. And here you are saying that you already have several clients just right off the bat.
Yeah, so I've only started for 3 months. And right off the bat, I just started posting on, well, first I built my website because I wanted to make sure I had a place where I could showcase my experience and actually like some of my graphic designs that I've done in the past. Because I've done random logos here and there or like social media posts for people. Most of the time it's for dietitians, but I was able to branch out and work with like an auto body store. And then when I posted on Nextdoor, a construction company reached out and they were the first client. And from there, I was just started picking things up. Like I would just keep posting on Facebook groups. People would be like, I'm so stressed. I don't know like how to build a website. And I'm like, I got you. Let me help with that. And it's definitely like I kept watching a lot of inspirational videos and people were like, you just have to go for it. It's like there's never a time where you're going to be fully prepared for it.
Yeah.
I think you're always going to learn as you go and like your mistakes, you're not going to make them again, hopefully, but trying to write down like what works and what doesn't. Because I think right off the bat, I was not freaking out, but like overthinking the logistics of the business. Like, oh, I need to get like the liability insurance and I need to get the LLC. I need to get my logo. I need to get my brand. And everyone gets really excited about that, but they don't actually like think about what is the business, like how are you helping people and improving that. And so I was just kind of crash coursing a bunch of different YouTube videos. And whenever someone was like, do you think you could do this? You seem like you know what you're doing. I'm like, I can try, I can try my best. And as long as you give your best effort, I think clients like that because it's when you're dropping off, you give low quality work. That's when people don't want to come back.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, because business owners, they want to really know and trust the people they work with. They want to be able to know that, hey, you're my finance person. I can count on you to get back to me in a reasonable time, to take care of my needs, to catch things that I may overlook myself. And you could apply that to any kind of, partner that somebody, has in their business. And it takes a while to build that rapport up. But those initial interactions are just really key because it seems like once business owners find their people, it's really hard to pry them away from there, right?
Yeah, it's true. Because I've had some clients like once I first started, I was like, I'll take everyone, But then there were some where I was like, oh, I don't think we work well together. And like I had to be the one to break the news because I'm just like, listen, we keep like butting heads. I think like we need either better communication or better prioritization. And if you're not up for that, then, my time needs to be better spent somewhere else, which sounds hard, but it's like everyone has their fit. And like, that's why I love discovery calls, like, or I have a free discovery call where I meet the person virtually and get a good vibe. And if I'm excited and I get them excited, that's where I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, walk me through a little bit more about that. Cause I was going to ask you, on your website here, it says, your approach is personalized. And so how do you go about, what is that intro meeting like? Like what information do you ask about? What can a business owner expect if they're to call you up today and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody to help me out on some of these, more social or internet website kind of things, or, what would that be like?
Yeah. So I think I kind of come off very straightforward and I go into it as a customer. Like, how would I want to be advertised? Like, would it make sense basically for someone who's brand new to the business? Because sometimes business owners can get caught up in what they want, but they're not exactly sure how to like vocalize it, especially with like SEO. Then there's keywords. You're like, okay, what are people actually searching and what is your solution for them? And so then I'll go through the discovery call and ask like, how did you get started? And once they get into their passion, that's when I'm like, okay, I can see how excited they are about it. I'll go further into like, how did that start? Kind of almost what you're doing. And it's interesting because like you'll see at the beginning of the call, they're like a little not nervous, but they're just like, I don't know what to do to begin with. You know, it's just very techy. And I'm like, let's just go into the bare bones of it to figure out what is your goal. Are you trying to get products out there? Are you trying to get more subscribers to your audience, like whether it's social media or your email or your website? Or are you trying to like just touch base with the community and other business owners? You know, there's different aspects and figuring out where their passion lies, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's a really, I think, important approach. Because, you know, I try to put myself in the mindset of a business owner myself when we're talking to other guests on the podcast here and stuff. And yeah, me personally, I'm not a techie person, and I don't think a lot of business owners really are unless they have a tech business, right? Kind of like you,
right?
You know, otherwise it's a lot, you know. And like with my other podcast, you're talking about things like SEO scores, and you start talking about algorithms, like way over my head. Like you lost me.
Yeah,
But I need to know that the person I need to know the person I'm working with does know what they're talking about, and not just that, but they're interested in taking the time to learn about my business, about what my vision is for this, where I want this to go. Because if I feel like they're trying to take it their own direction, well, you're just going to burn bridges there, right? So I think it's really cool that you have that really unique approach and focused on the person and their business and going from there.
Yeah, definitely. And I try to be like flexible with, that's the nice thing about having this remote work is that, you know, you try to meet them where they're at. So some people are like, oh, I already have like a website set up. Can you just zhuzh it up, basically make it look a little prettier? And I'm like, okay, cool. What do you not like about it though? And they're like, oh, I don't know. They're like, I just don't like it. I just want more color or something. And I'm like, okay, what kind of colors? And like just going into the deep details of things that people don't normally think about. And it's like, why do you like that color? Does it make you happy, or do you think it like sticks with the business? I don't know. Like different colors can bring a lot to customer outreach and like retention too, which is interesting.
There's a lot of psychology there.
Yeah, definitely. With fonts too, the layout, not having too much white space. Because that was the thing I realized when I first started building websites is I kind of would just be like, all right, this is what I have the vision as. And then I would show it to the customer and they're like, okay, I like this, but also can we change this? And so I was like, okay, to save me time, I'm going to have like a mock-up first before I go into like the big details, show them that live where I can just like share my screen. And then once they visually see it, they're like, oh, I don't like that. Or can we add this in? And it saves us both time.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And so it's cool that we're having these conversations of things like that. But you've only been doing this for 3 months, right? Like, again, I know you have a lot of experience in this but this is stuff that I would think a business owner who's been doing it for a year or two is recognizing, okay, now that I have a lot of experience dealing with these customers and having a really good idea of what they want, what they're looking for, figure out what my pain points are, now I'm going to make some adjustments. But I think it's kind of, how do I say this? It's brave in a way. You know, you're starting up a new business. You already have all this other stuff going on, but you're not afraid to make changes when things are still fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for instance, my CRM platform, which is basically just like customer resource management. It has so many things. And I'm like, I don't actually need to use all of this. Like, what am I actually using? I'm using a contract and a proposal. I'm making an invoice, and then I'm tracking my time. Because every time I have a different project, I'll like track my time for it, which is super nice. Because like if I ever need a break, I can just hit pause and then come right back to it. And people are like, oh, how long did that take you? And I'm like, it only took a couple hours. Whereas maybe 3 weeks ago, it took me 4 hours. And so I can see that like my time is improving. I'm actually getting faster, which means I'm actually getting better. I can see my websites I help with clients are actually looking better too. Yeah, so I think there's always like, there's a growth to it, but it doesn't mean you have to like hold off starting your business until you are an expert. That's my opinion, at least.
Well, that's a really great phrase right there, because a lot of people go back to that idea of, I don't know everything about this,
Yeah.
type of business yet. Like, I just, how do I know I'm not going to go into this and just fail because of something I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So again, you don't have to be an expert, but a lot of, what we're talking about is partnerships and people like you, who your job is to help business owners out. Like,
Yeah.
you're the type of resource that business owners would want to go to, or should want to seek out, to give them that support that they're maybe lacking in certain areas.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even realize, like, they're so caught up, especially when you're starting off. If they're all by themselves, they're like, oh, I don't have to worry about organizing my emails right now. But then you might have missed a really important email and you have like 2,000 unreads back there. And I'm like, let's go through and actually like have these labels so that as soon as it comes in, it can go right to that label. And then you can see like, oh, there's 30 in this spam one. I don't need to open that. I mean, maybe you should every now and then to make sure you're not missing something, but just things like that, like inbox organization, or like I went into someone's website and they just had so many plugins and they were like, I don't know why it's so slow. And I'm like, it's the plugins. You have too many. Like, why do you have all these? And they're like, some of them were pre-installed. And that's the thing that a lot of advertisements try to get you with trying to build your website on your own, is that they have it all pre-made for you. But then when you get to learn more about design, it's more limited. And you actually don't need that much to get the job done. So that's been something I've learned a lot too.
So you're talking about website development and web page development. I'm curious how you're finding, it being, how important is it nowadays? Because there's so many websites, there's so many social media sites and things like that. Like, if me being a new business owner, for example, coming to you and saying like, do I really need a website? Like, is that like, I know you provide that service, but what is it really going to do for me? And I'm sure it depends on the business, and the market and all that stuff. But because it just almost seems like you want to make sure you're doing it right. And I feel like some people do it because they feel like it's a necessity, and then they don't keep up with it. They don't care how it really looks. It's just there for information, and it could really easily turn a lot of people off.
It's true. Yeah. Because when I have looked at businesses in the past and they have like an old looking website, I'm immediately like, okay, either these people are really old and they did this a while ago. So like, it could be like a mom and pop shop, which could be endearing if it's like a cute little, antique store or a cafe that's been open for a while. But making it look more modern, especially with like social media nowadays, having brand collaboration and matching, I think is super important. Like, whenever I ask people, do you have a logo? That's usually what I ask right off the bat. And do you have, if you have a logo, do you have different kinds of logos, like a favicon, which is basically the little icon that pops up when you go on a website. Because sometimes if it's not there, it's just gray, and things like that, like with your social media profile picture, or sharing handouts and having a little logo in the bottom corner to make sure it's not going to get copyrighted. Because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to just take your work and then resell it. Not that happens with websites, but like with templates a lot. Like Canva is a big thing too. I love Canva, but it can be very overwhelming too. And I like using it just to like kind of brainstorm and see what's modern out there, because they usually have a lot of trending ideas. And Tailwind, sorry, I'm kind of going all over the place with softwares I use, but Tailwind is another one. It's mostly for social media and Pinterest, but they have a free keyword search where you can type in your own URL and it will tell you like, these are the trending keywords that are going on right now, so that you can improve your SEO, or you can see like, okay, a lot of these trending keywords are going down and they're on my website, so maybe I should just rephrase them a little bit. So I think it really just depends. To go back to your question, if you're going to have a website, you should have either learned how to keep it up to date, or make sure you have like a website designer who's sticking with you and keeping up with the marketing.
Maybe their name should be Olivia.
Yeah, mine. I am taking clients.
Just saying, maybe.
Oh yeah, I love it. The cool thing is too, like, I think a lot of people, because when I was searching, I was like, what do I want to do? Is this even possible that I haven't like gotten a degree in computer science or like development. And I definitely think like teachers or other business owners that have like been, you know, helping out with just the marketing or the outreach, you can find your niche and help out with other businesses. Because that's like the fun thing about mine is it's not redundant. I can just like, okay, I don't want to work on this right now. Let me go work on something else. And having ADHD, that does help a lot too, because after a while you get distracted, and I always have something I could do now, which is nice.
So it's time to move on to something else. Yep, exactly.
Yes, we're like, oh, I've been sitting here for 8 hours and now I can get up and actually move my feet around or something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good that you actually talk about all those different programs and stuff you use, because I think business owners out there listening to this right now, you know, they want to know, again, it goes back to the person that they're looking for is knowledgeable and has options, right? Because they want to know that what you're presenting to them is tailored to them versus like, oh, I have 3 options. And it doesn't matter if you're a baker, if you have a hair salon, or if you're a concrete guy, you have these 3 options, right? And you're like, is that really, you know, it's like, well, what if we do this or that? You know, there's this program where you do this, all those different, it's like, okay, now I have options. Now I know that what I'm being presented to me is in fact something that I know is tailored. And it's my vision, but it's also has all that stuff on the back end that's going to help me get visibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to also ask you though, kind of moving into here we are now, you have your business, a few months going, it's looking good. Kind of talking about like what separates you, what puts you apart from all the other virtual assistants or people that do this kind of work here. And I think it starts with your name, because every business name has a story behind it, right? So before we get into like more specifics of what makes you, unique, where did Didi Virtual Solutions come from?
So I had actually thought a while about the name, because I also didn't want it to be like, I originally thought of Crest Virtual Solutions because I really like hiking. And I was like, oh, we're in Colorado, I should do something mountainy. And surprisingly, a lot of Colorado businesses out there already have like Crest or Peak or Summit or something in there. And I'm like, and plus if I had something VS, like I didn't want to have CVS where it looks like the pharmacy, or I don't know, just an abbreviation thing. So then I was like, maybe I should do something more personal. And all of a sudden Didi popped in my head because my younger sister, who I'm pretty close with, called me Didi when she couldn't say Livy, which is my nickname. So, and that was when she was very, very young. But it like stuck with it and I loved it actually. So I think I showed that to kind of show my personality. Like I have siblings, you know, I care about my family, and, you know, I like to have a sense of humor sometimes. Well, not sometimes, all the time. But yeah, trying to have that more personal approach. That was how the name came to be.
That's really fun. It's funny you bring something like that up, because my siblings, being the oldest, you know, my younger siblings had nicknames for me too, and they couldn't pronounce Kevin. So
yeah, it's funny.
That's actually it's a fun story though, right? And it puts some personality behind it and gives some meaning behind it as well. And I think just going into the next part, like just again, what separates you from somebody else? Like why should they go with you versus any other virtual assistant kind of person out there?
Yeah, I think I am very organized. Anytime someone comes up with me with a bunch of different kind of brain vomit stuff, I'll write it all down and kind of organize what is the most important and have that in a Google Doc. And I know sometimes people have like different kinds of softwares that make things easier. And there are out there like automation softwares, but for me personally, I tried that and it was too much because I already have I'm pretty good at staying up on top of things as long as I have it like on a list somewhere. That's where this whiteboard comes from because I'm like a visual person too. So I like to write it down. It sticks in my head. But every week I'll send out weekly recaps to people about like if they have a monthly package, let's say they had like 20 hours a month, and I'll be like, okay, I spent 5 hours this last week on this, and next week we'll have 5 more hours to work on. And that way it kind of sets a track, and they're not like all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I don't have any more hours. How did that go by? And you're like, it's not that fast to make this handout. You know, it takes 2 or 3 hours, even though it seemed like it was really quick. And I think setting realistic expectations and boundaries helps too. Because even though I am like there for the business owner, I'm not their personal assistant. And that's been something that's been, because they're like, SOS, like I need this done right away. And I'm like, I have other clients. I can't just drop this and hop on it right now. And realizing like, yes, it is their business. And if I can't get to it, they're going to have to focus on it themselves. I'm just here to alleviate their load and make things a little bit simpler. And I think also my research I try to keep up with social media, and a lot of the people I work with either don't have time to go on social media, or they're just older and don't understand like what's going on, what's trending out there. So giving them that information, being a little bit younger, knowing what sticks out the crowd. Obviously, if the audience is a little older, I'm not going to be as in tune with that, but trying to at least be like, this is what's going to reach out the general audience right now, having a clean look, and making things straightforward.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of, really strong points in there. First off, yeah, for anybody who's a business owner who wants a dedicated person, you need to go hire a dedicated person. Because that's not how that works.
Yeah, I had some clients that were like, a couple of them are dietitians, because I'm still part of dietitian groups since I am still a dietitian. And they're like, help, I need VAs that literally just like dropped off. And I was like, how did that happen? Like, you hired them and they just ghosted you? And I'm like, I can't imagine that. And so I think having that kind of makes them feel a little bit better. Like, I would not do that. I've owned my own business as a dietitian. I would freak out if that happened. Like, yes, things are your responsibility, but like you should hear from your virtual assistant within 2 to 3 days at least, maximum.
Sure.
So yeah, being able to say like that won't happen and proving it to them. I've been able to impress a lot of clients with how fast I've gotten work done, just because like once I get in the zone and hyper focus, I'm like, blah, it just happens so fast. And I can get someone's work done from like what me taking someone else 5 hours because they were watching Netflix and getting a little distracted in like 2 hours because I was just focused. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? What's the plan from here? What are you looking at for the next coming months, for the next year? Because again, I'm interested in that perspective of somebody who is starting out fresh, and wondering what that, because it's totally different from somebody who's been around for 5-10 years to look back and be like, oh, I remember when I started, right?
Yes.
And all the stories. So what is it like for you? Like, what are some of the things that you're experiencing? Maybe some challenges that you're trying to overcome, or that you have already overcome? And what does that look like moving forward?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge is if my current client's workload kind of tapers off, and sometimes they randomly, like, typically with a monthly package, you should have, if they bought 20 hours a month, you should have like 5 hours a week, basically. But some people don't necessarily need the work. And so they're like, oh, can I hold those hours for next month? And because I'm new, I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. But then I'm like, I need some income still. So reaching out to people and showing, it has actually still worked out well. Even when I've dropped down my clients, I'll like show a new post on Facebook with my current website portfolio to like show off what I've done so far. And then a bunch of people will be like, oh, actually, I am interested. I was thinking about it before, and like your post just made me think about it. But for growth, something I'm looking at down the road is creating like, not self-help, but like courses, mini courses, basically, where people can learn how to optimize and make their business more efficient. Whether that's like going through different kinds of platforms and saying, I went through this one, I like this one, I did this one, I didn't like it. Like for instance, email marketing. Some people have heard of Kit, some people have heard of MailChimp. I'm blanking on what the other ones are called, Hubbub. But like there's so many out there now, especially with AI. A lot of people get stressed out about all the AI platforms, and they're like, which one do I go to? And I'm like, why do you need AI? Because they're all specifically for different things. Yes, ChatGPT is like the main go-to right now, but like I'm not worried about that replacing my job at all, because sometimes I have to correct ChatGPT. Like it'll tell me something and I'm like, no, that is not right.
That's actually, I know the answer to that.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to be there, show that you're, there's platforms to help, but ultimately like it comes down to what you need. How does it help you? Money wise, I'm very like budget conscious. And so I feel like that helps a lot with clients too, is telling them like, hey, this is a little bit more expensive, but if you want to go like grow eventually, this is worth it now, like the investment, rather than having to do a small thing and then later have to subscribe to something else and then you pay for 2 different platforms.
Yeah. And that can be tough for a new business owner, or maybe just one has been around for a little bit, but has some, some money issues. It's like,
Yeah.
Do I really if I'm really going to shell out some extra money now? Like, is that really worth it? So, I think it's, cool to have that message of like, look, this is, if you don't do it now, that's fine. We'll still go that way, but here's what you're going to be looking at down the line, and to give them that. So you're not just like, hey, buy this because I'm the expert. And it's like, okay, here are your options. Just recognize here's the pluses and minuses to both. I think that's very honest.
Yeah. I'm not like sponsored by anyone or like an affiliate. So it's just like, I actually have, especially with the dietitian stuff, I feel like I learned what not to do with that first business, like how much I was focusing on like trying to make things faster when really like I wasn't having enough clients to be able to make it that fast. Whereas now it's like, who can I reach out to? Can I like go to businesses nearby and go inside, look up their website and see, oh, you don't have a website or your website's very out to date. Can I help you with that? Or like when you're in urgent care and they hand you this bugs me so much, but when they hand you the paper clip or the clipboard with paper on it and you have to fill pages and pages of information, and you're like, I literally just filled this out like at a different office a little bit ago, and now I have to rewrite it again. And it can push people away. Like obviously a doctor's office, you kind of need to be there, but like other things, if you're just sitting in there and you're waiting and waiting, it's going to push you away and you're not going to want to come back. So, and hearing customer complaints too is really important. Like being willing to change whenever someone gives you some constructive criticism.
Yeah. That can be tough though. Because your business is your baby. You're so invested, you're passionate about it, you're spending all this time building it and trying to make it better. And then somebody comes along with some maybe not so good feedback. It can be a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. And from there, it's also like, because I am the kind of person that when I get advice, I'm immediately like, please don't, unless I ask for it. But like, also just like, if you are a business owner, tell me everything, I could always use it. But it's like, oh, I saw this like video on TikTok that someone did this. And I'm like, stop. Like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
If you're getting your information from social media who just saw something for a few seconds, like it's different when someone actually has the experience. And so that's why I think like, yes, even though I've started this for 3 months, I have like years of doing different kinds of platforms, like trying to figure out what's worked. One of my old jobs was for Body Smart Fitness, which is like an Instagram online coaching company. And I started with them when they were like 300,000 followers. And then I left when they were about 1 million followers because it just became too much. And I was like, I can't, I was getting a little micromanaged too, but that experience helped me like understand the perspective of the customer, because I was doing a lot of outreach, to get sales, but like people are like, please stop pitching me sales. Like, why do you want to help me? And I'm like, okay, I'll be honest here. Like, if you're just looking for a quick fix, some cleanse to lose some weight before a wedding in like a month, this isn't for you. Like, this is something where you're going to have to really dedicate yourself. And like, it's going to be at least 4 months of an investment of your time and your money kind of thing. And when people did that, they were like, oh, I mean, sometimes you'd leave, but like, or the customer would leave, but you get another one later who actually is dedicated, or they would come back. And those are the clients that you want staying anyway. So kind of having that approach with like, okay, are you just here to get a website and have it out to like think you need a website, or like what is your main goal of the website?
No, fair point. There's so much to being a business owner.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And I'm still learning.
oh, for sure. Just, from your point of view, just so much to learn, right? And that's okay. There's you keep
Yeah,
learning. I think even for people who have had their business for 20 years, probably still have stuff to learn or could benefit from learning as things change. And you're saying you go through and you try to stay updated on things, which as quickly as things change, it can be really tough to do that.
yeah,
But to recognize also as a new business owner saying, if that one doesn't pan out, okay, I'm not, don't just take business just for business sake,
yes,
you got to make sure, they're in it for, the long term as well, for your longevity, for your benefit.
yeah. Because I'm not perfect, but like I'll admit when I make a mistake. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, I totally missed that in your email. And then from there on, I'm like really actually deep diving the email because sometimes I'll like skim read things and like that doesn't happen anymore. But like what I tell myself is if I'm doing a good job and they're not happy with it, they can find another virtual assistant and then they might
Yeah.
end up coming back because their work might be slightly different than mine. Because I think when I tell people I'm a virtual assistant right off the bat, they think like India or Philippines kind of people who are like $5 to $10 an hour. And like they're like, why are you so much more? And I'm like, I'm American and you're American. You want
Right.
to get results that will reach out to your American audience. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a language barrier. They'll usually get you the bare minimum, but there's been issues down the road. And I'm not like bashing on any of them. They can be very
No.
helpful for like admin work and like data entry. But as far as like trying to know your audience, I think I would be a lot better to not me, but
Yeah.
Americans and being in the field as a customer and as a marketing person.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know that, when it comes to insurance or banking or any kind of partner, relationship I have with my podcasts or work or whatever, I don't want to be calling up a 1-800 number that gets answered in some other continent across the ocean, and somebody who says their name is Bob answers the phone, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. Like there's no trust there. Like, how
Yeah.
do I know that you have my best interest in mind? So yeah, people would pay a little bit more for your services because you take the time to get to know them, to help build their vision, to be the
Yeah.
person that when they need help, they know who they're calling. They know that the person on the other end is Olivia. She knows me. I trust her. We've
Yeah.
talked before. And that, yeah, you're paying for that feeling of just, what's the word I'm blanking on here? Reassurance.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I definitely agree.
Well, it's good. It's a good business model, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole like trying to adapt it as if it were my business too. Like whenever people, not whenever, but sometimes I'll have people that would be like, I want this. And I'm like, do you want this as well? Like, I think this would be a really good idea to have like a freebie offered. Like you're selling this product, maybe have like a 50% off discount offered or like a one-time 24-hour only grab this freebie and then you have this exclusive deal. And there's a lot of like people that get annoyed with those where you get like the tons of emails and like, don't forget you have this thing that's a sale, but it actually does work for like those maybe third of the customers that it's reaching to.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
makes sense. Well, Olivia, as we wrap up here, first, thank you very much for spending some of your time here with us today and sharing your story. Really, I think, inspiring story, especially for people who are looking to start their own business here soon or are just now getting started out. It's really cool to see somebody taking that leap of faith, in the moment, and finding that early success. Right? It's really inspirational, and hopefully others can learn from it as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope if there's one person out there to help, that would be great.
Perfect. Well, hey, share with everybody. I'll make sure to give you some time to share with everyone how they can find you, how they can contact you, any other information about you or your business that you want them to know. Floor is all yours.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say my website is probably the best way because I have a link on there to schedule the breakthrough call. And I am just a typical person who likes to go right off the bat and meet the person. Like I'll do texting messages beforehand, but I'm like, let's just get on a call. It's a lot easier to communicate. My phone number also, I do reply to texts. calls, not all the time, if I'm being honest, just because I'm like, I am busy. I don't want to answer a call right now. So I would say my website. I'm also on Facebook, but I haven't been as good as posting up there because I've been focusing on my clients' Facebooks. So definitely the website, I would say, would be the first priority.
Okay. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, if I was looking at a virtual, trying to find a virtual assistant, and I saw their website looked immaculate, and then I saw some of their work, and their work of other people's websites was not very good.
Yeah.
Be a little concerned. So I'd almost rather see it flip, like, oh, well, their Facebook isn't up to date, but look at the stuff that they're doing. Okay, that's the product I'm going to get, right?
Yes.
I'm much more okay with that.
Yeah, same.
So, hey, once again, Olivia, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate having you here.
Well, everyone, once again, this has been another edition of Behind the Small Business Podcast. Really glad you were here with us today. This is, of course, brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. If you're looking for any kind of insurance quote, commercial or personal, auto, home, whatever, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to get you a quote and see if we can get you started on a really great insurance offer there. So, but we will be back next time with another business owner and another fantastic story on Behind the Small Business. So you take care, everyone, and we will see you next time.